Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more buckshot testing. And today we're out here on a 100-degree morning. It's about 11:30 right now and it's like 97 degrees or something. It's pretty ridiculous. But we've got a choke and shell combo that one of you guys requested us to try out because you said it performs well. And who knows, I don't think I've ever really tested a buckshot load through this choke in particular from this gun, so we'll see what happens. But as for the shells I brought out here today, I got out some more of the good old Remington Express buckshot loads. These ones are the 12 gauge, 3-inch, 10 pellet load of triple aught buck, moving about 12-25 feet per second. We've tested these a number of times on the channel now through a bunch of different setups and choke combos, and they are some surprisingly good performers. A lot of Remington's new Express lineup has been pretty surprising, and these have given us some really impressive patterns so far. But we've never tried them through this particular choke, so who knows? We'll see what we can get. But as for the setup we're going to run them through, I brought out the Mossberg 835 Ulti-Mag. It's got a 28-inch barrel on it, and for the choke, one of you guys said, hey, try those Remington triple aught Express shells through the stock modified choke and see what happens, because yours does pretty well. I believe you said your modified choke was a 745 constriction. I measured mine, and it comes out at a 742, so very close. And if you said you saw good results, then I figured, hey, we'll try it and see what happens, since I've never tested these through a modified choke in an 835 before. And for anybody wondering, yes, 740 to 745 range is modified constriction for an 835 because they are overbored to a 10 gauge bore diameter, so the chokes aren't your typical 12 gauge choke constrictions. Either way, should be a pretty interesting combo to try and see what happens. But as for today's test, everything is set up the same as usual. I've got the big sheet of paper at 40 yards, the chronograph so we can get our velocity, and the templates that we can lay up over our target when we go check out our results. So let's get you guys a view of that target, and we'll see how these Remington Express triple aught shells can perform through a little bit less constriction and a more open choke in this stock flush modified in the 835. Will it work out or not? I don't know what we're going to get, but let's take our shot and see what happens. Alright, so that shell gave us 1235 through the chrono. Box claim was 1225, so we're right there at where we should be. No big deal there, but let's head to our target and see how it actually patterned. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and I gotta say, this is a bit of a disappointment for these shells overall. I can clearly say right off the bat, they were really not a fan of that modified choke in that 835 very much. We did have all 10 of the pellets on the paper, but the paper is 36 inches wide. The white dot was my point of aim, and I did measure the farthest 2 points across, which is kind of diagonal left to right there, and it gave us a 28.5-inch spread at 40 yards. That is not at all what we typically see, even through my stock full chokes in like my Remington shotguns, my 1187 and stuff when we've tested it, have given us a 20-inch or better pattern. Typically through a good choke, we can get down in the mid-teens with these. I think we've seen 13 or 14 inches, and that was including a flyer, with the main portion of our pattern being closer to the 10-inch mark. So these are capable of tremendously better patterns than this. And even if we hadn't already seen better patterns from it, this still really isn't anything impressive. It's just kind of a broad spread across the paper more than anything. It's not really too consistent. You kind of have a clump over here off the bottom right, another kind of vertical string there with a couple other random pellets, and a big giant gap right in the middle of everything. Just not a very nice looking buckshot pattern overall. I expected a lot better from these shells, considering what I've already seen, and considering one of you guys said you get a good pattern from them through that exact same combination. So it's definitely a good bit of a disappointment here overall. But I guess I've got a couple templates out here. We might as well take a quick look at them, but I don't really think there's going to be much of anything special to see out of this combo. So first up, we have a 10-inch circle, and since we might have kind of favored our pattern to the left, I gave it the benefit of the doubt, which gave us one pellet within there at 40 yards. If I would have moved it an inch or two over to the right, we would have had none. And that is definitely not what you like to see out of a decent performing buckshot combo. 10 inches is average size vital area on your mid-size game. Think a deer lung or something like that. So you barely have one within there. Not a combo that I'm really liking as far as our core area goes or anything down here. But I guess since I have it, we might as well throw the deer template up and just see what it looks like if you would have taken this shot out there on a deer hunt. So here's that deer template, and I guess, yes, you would have had a dead deer, but everything is either way far back on him or way up here in the front and down low. And to be honest with you, that one right through the base of his neck might have done more damage more quickly than some of these other ones way far back here. This would have been a dead deer still, but you really don't have much of anything through the heart and lung area. So it's not a combo that I would ever personally use. Of course, in at closer ranges, you're going to have a tighter pattern and it's going to be fine, but at 40, that ain't the combo for these shells. Now, I guess if you want to get technical with it, it might not be a horrible combination for a deer drive scenario in closer range, thicker cover on a moving target or something. You got a little bigger pellet hitting them with a little more energy. So for that scenario, maybe I could see it, but still, it's just not a great combo. I thought we would get better out of this, but that's why you test a bunch of different combos and see what works and what doesn't, because sometimes they surprise you with either good performances or terrible ones, and this was a terrible one. In theory, kind of makes sense considering we've seen all of our best patterns through anything between a 690 and a 700 constriction. So with this modified being a 742, it's less constriction and our pattern definitely opened up quite a bit. So it seems like if you got a full choke or something that's down there in the 690s, that's going to be the ticket here for these, especially since they don't have a wad and they're not plated. They are buffered, which helps a little, but overall seems like a touch more constriction is what these want. And to be fair, Remington does state on the box they can be fired through any choke, but a full choke is usually the best, and I would kind of agree with that with these particular shells so far. Either way, definitely a little bit disappointing for a result today, there's no doubt about that. Alright y'all, well, what do you think about that performance right there? Definitely, again, a little bit of a disappointment here. It kind of makes sense in the grand scheme of things. I'm not entirely surprised necessarily when we think about kind of the physics behind everything, and from what I've seen from these shells before, it does make sense the pattern is a little bit more open. But one of you guys said that you get patterns that are down there in the 14, 15, 16 inch range from this combo, so I figured, hey, we'll try it and we'll see what I can get out of it. And clearly, my setup with that combination is not really the move, but that's why you test things, because you never quite know what you're going to get until you try it. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Remington Express triple aught shells, and if so, what kind of results have you seen? Is that a pattern or combo you would ever hunt with, or are you kind of like me and would rather see it tighter than that? And what other shell and choke combos do you want to see us run when it comes to buckshot or those triple aught Remington shells or anything like that? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.